I guess going back to when I was bodybuilding, very low in carbs, my body fat percentage got so low that my period stopped for 6 months. I mean, I'm grateful that I had kids by that point, but sadly, I'm connected with a lot of female bodybuilders that still do that, and they can't have kids.
Welcome to the Silent Epidemic. I'm your host, Hatice Mehmet Quirk. Today we're speaking with Veronica Wilde, a highly successful personal trainer and mental health advocate. Veronica is the founder of a thriving business dedicated to helping women improve their physical fitness while also supporting their mental well-being. With a strong social media presence, she's inspired thousands of women to take charge of their health in a holistic way. Veronica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate you joining us today. So, what led you to build a fitness business that focuses not just on the body, but also the mind?
I think when I started my fitness journey back in 2003,
Wow.
give you an idea of the age, but it was all about the physical. It was about the doing, the sweat, just beasting yourself in the gym. But then as I aged and got older and had kids and went through, some traumatic experiences in my life, I began to realize that, me or women that just punish themselves in the gym don't actually get the results that they want, because ultimately women do that to look good, feel good, right? But I just realized on just the amount of classes that I taught, women that I worked with, companies that I worked with, that there were so many pressures to lose weight, tone up, transformation this, and you'll get a prize if this, and women would literally just punish themselves by doing this. But then what I found was, all of the hours and times I was putting in the gym actually didn't really contribute to much, because it was what was going on when they're not in the gym. And that's what counts. It's, funny enough, believe it or not, doing the workout is actually easy. It's the easy part, although, depending on what kind of workout you do, it's what goes on outside the gym that's the hard part. You come home and you've got like a partner and you have an argument, or your kids are playing up, and then what happens after that? You then turn to a glass of wine because you're just so stressed, even though you've just done a workout. So actually almost you can undo the work that, you're nodding, is this from So then it kind of made me realize actually there's just more to it than just the physical stuff. And so I really wanted to deep dive in the mental health side of things. And how I can work with women in that aspect, but also how I can create an impact without them doing the actual physical stuff. Yeah.
Just a quick break from today's episode. If you've ever tried to get therapy, you know how frustrating it can be. You're finally ready to talk to someone, but you've been stuck on a waiting list for months. That's not how mental health support should work. Omnia Therapy makes getting help simple. You can book a session with a fully qualified professional in just 24 hours. No waiting, no contracts, just real support when you need it. And at £40 per session is actually affordable. If you're struggling, don't wait. Tap the link in the show notes or head to omniahealthgroup.com to book your session today. So it sounds like you started your journey at a time when, even from a social perspective, how women were in the gym, because even recently there's been a lot of talk about how a lot of the fitness stuff that we know and follow is based more towards how a man should train rather than how a woman should train. And even things like, like fasted exercises.
Yeah.
When actually, for a woman, you shouldn't be doing that, right? No. And I never ever ate before going to the gym, because it was oh no, I train on an empty stomach, like I'm doing something great.
Yeah.
And even now, I still can't eat a massive. I'm not really a breakfast person, but I will still have a protein coffee in the morning. Now I have that information because it's a little bit of something to kickstart my metabolism and fire it up.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that we're in this day and age, and yet still, it sounds like there has been a little bit of a shift, because obviously I'm sharing that information with you that I've heard, etc., etc. But you've come from living in it at the time when it was, you have to be skinny, you have to get the results, you have to beast yourself, as you said.
Yes.
That pressure, or putting yourself in that pressure mentally, how can you really get the results that you want when it sounds like it was just grueling and it was this constant feeling of more,
Yeah.
when it doesn't sound like it was ever going to be enough, right?
No, exactly. And I'm really passionate about it because I put myself through it, especially when I used to work in a well-known bodybuilder type gym in this area.
Right.
And it was just dominated by beefy men, you know, and it was quite intimidating. In fact, it was very intimidating. And when I worked there, I tried to encourage a lot of females to join, and they just wouldn't, because why would they want to go in that environment when it's full of men, just testosterone everywhere? But then when you're in that environment, you get sucked into it like I did. And so, to put it into context, even before I started there, I worked at Bannatyne, and then even before that, I was a dance teacher. So for me, it was about a feeling before I started working in that environment. Fitness was a feeling, and because I was into dance, it was about moving to music, feeling good, right? Then that's the script flipped when I worked in this gym, because it then went from a feeling to a look, and I only care about the look.
Yeah.
And so when I got sucked into that environment, I did my bodybuilding shows, and I didn't care what I was doing to my body. My girls, I mean, they're 13 and 14 now, but they were still quite young at the time. They were affected by it because I was this moody mum on very little carbs, and all I cared about was how I looked.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be on stage in a bikini, and I had to look a certain way. I had to get my abs out. And like, my youngest was only 6 months.
Wow.
I went from a size, 14 to an 8. And it was the only time that I've ever seen abs. Like, literally, you can count them. Was it worth it? For the experience, yes. For the sacrifice, no. Because not only did I sacrifice the relationships with my kids, but me and my husband argued a lot. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to not have carbs, but it doesn't make you a nice person. There's a reason why around the time of your cycle, when you need carbs, your body's saying to you, have the frigging carbs, right?
Oh, I'm famous for getting hangry. So, and that's with eating carbs. So I wouldn't even want to be around me without carbs.
Isn't it mental though, why so many women try and not have carbs? Because they're so desperate to look a certain way that they think, carbs, no good for me, it's going to make me fat. Actually, the job of carbs is energy. What type of carbs will determine how you feel, possibly how you look, but
how much you're eating, right?
Yeah. So I guess going back to when I was bodybuilding, very low in carbs, my body fat percentage got so low that my period stopped for 6 months. I mean, I'm grateful that I had kids by that point, but sadly I'm connected with a lot of female bodybuilders that still do that, and they can't have kids because their hormones are just so messed up. Oh, but I look great, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what's the trade-off? What's important? The look, or what it's doing to me and people that I love?
And the long-term effect as well.
Yeah. So again, my cycle stopped for 6 months. I tell you, so it was really interesting. I remember when I finished my last show, and I went in the hotel room, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I remember looking at myself, and I had a tan. Do I need a tan? But I still had a spray tan to highlight the muscles, right? And I remember I was really thirsty, so I contacted my coach. I said, I'm really thirsty. And he went, no, you can't drink. You can't drink. If you want a drink, put water in your mouth, give it a swell and spit it out. That's how dehydrated it was. All for a look, just for a look. But I remember it's almost like I was starved It felt like I was starved of food. And I was on stage for 3 minutes, not even that. As soon as I come off stage and I went back to my hotel room that night, I remember it so clearly, I gorged on food. I was binging, right? I went to bed, I woke up the next morning. I kid you not, the line that separated the abs were gone. My stomach was flat, but there was no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was no six pack. It was just flat. I was like,
how?
Yeah. Right? Because
all them
the
months.
water from the carbs and everything. But it just goes to show, like, what people see in magazines and so, like, what they have to go through to look like that. I've done a load of photo shoots where even before the shoot, we'd have to pump up beforehand. People don't know that. They think they just rock up and look like that. They know when a shoot is in advance, so they can almost diet down for it. Hell no, not worth it. I remember, and I have to apologise to my best friend because she doesn't even know this. I went to one of my good friend's wedding whilst I was prepping for a show, and it was a set menu, and I had to pretend to eat the food because I was prepping for a show, and it was so regimented. I went to the toilet with my Tupperware box and ate my food, and then came out and pretended to eat. I'll never forget that. And I just thought, wow, all of this for 3 minutes. It's just not worth it. And so after I did that, I just started to question what fitness really is. The sad thing is when I did bodybuilding, I got a hell of a lot of followers and clients. They ramped up because they saw me with all my images, got a lot of likes, whatever. And I want to train with you because... And it's really sad because it's like, that's not me. That's not me. That's not real. You want to see the real me that likes a doner kebab once a week and a glass of wine. That's me. That's me. So I started questioning what fitness actually is. And it's almost like I wanted to then go back to the feeling of fitness again. And so when I left Absolute Gym and then I started working in Everlast, and it became a feeling again. And what I didn't like about when I was training specifically for shows was it was all about lifting, and that was it. So I was quite weak from a cardiovascular point of view. I'm actually known in the areas of the burpee queen. I don't know why, because I just actually like burpees. But when you do a burpee, you're like that. I want to know that I can do that. I want to know that I can outdo my kids and not get out of breath, going up a flight of stairs and not getting out of breath. So I think fitness should be almost like a combination of, yes, you want it for strength, and especially as you're getting older. Like, cannot highlight that enough. But then it should also be about a feeling. And when I did bodybuilding, I didn't feel good. So it's now, I guess, trying to balance both.
And you said that earlier, it's balance. And I suppose, really, when you think about it, that is life, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're striving for balance on all things, not just fitness, because actually what you described there, that was extreme.
Yeah, very.
To the point where you're at a wedding and you're eating out of a Tupperware in the toilet.
It's almost like a form of disordered eating, if you think about it.
Of course, I mean, that's what crossed my mind when you was talking earlier about getting back to the hotel room and binge eating. That's what I thought, that's not good.
I mean, with any diet, it's not natural.
No.
And this is why diet works, because you're depriving yourself of something. And it's like, why? And this is what I don't like as well with diet culture. Why are food labelled good and bad?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like, food is food. If you want to have a donut, have a donut. If you're having a donut every day, maybe it's a little bit.
It's funny, actually, because my 7-year-old, they recently done something at school about nutrition and making sure that they've got a balanced diet, etc., etc. And obviously they labelled the importance of not eating too much sugar.
Yeah.
So, and bless her, she's one of these that she really takes, she's like a sponge. And it's like, so then every time she would go for a sweet or a chocolate or anything with sugar in it, she'd go, but mummy, is this too much sugar? And I say, it's too much if it's not balanced.
Yes.
But you're growing up, you're allowed to have some sugar, but it's just how much of it that you have. So if you have a block of chocolate, great. Just don't have the whole bar.
That's it.
And it's little and often
Absolutely.
of everything that we like to eat, and that's okay. When you're eating too much of it, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, 100%.
And she really had to help reframe it for her. Because again, I've never limited any of my children in terms of, oh, don't have this or don't have that or don't have the other. But then I have seen other children that have been limited with, oh, they're not allowed chocolates. And the way they then gorge when they get the opportunity to, that's not balance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's almost like, when you really think about it, going back to when we were children, it's almost like you kind of almost soothed with food. I mean, I'm guilty of it when I was, when my kids were younger, and it's like, you do really well, you can have that chocolate. Or if you really want to think about it deeply, is, when a baby's crying, would you put it in the mouth?
Yeah.
The dummy.
Yeah.
So the kind of the emotional side of it almost can stem back to those things. But yeah, going back to the balance thing, I think it almost forms the way that I coach women now in terms of, how consistent are you when it comes to eating a lot of or not enough of, a certain type of food. And, when I'm working with women and they say, are you going to do me a diet plan? I'm like, no, I'm not. Are you going to tell me what to eat? No. Are you going to give me macros? No, I'm really not the coach for you. If you want to step on stage, go and find a stage coach or someone that does bodybuilding. But no, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to give you some tools and resources, and I'm going to teach you. If they're looking to lose body fat, you need to be in some kind of deficit. But I will not go down the route of you're going to weigh everything, you're going to measure everything. Let's do it balanced and do it sensibly. And most importantly, make it sustainable. Because weighing things every day is not sustainable.
It's not fun, is it? Do you know, it's funny you say that actually, because I mean, I like going to the gym, I like working out, but for me, it's my time to just de-stress. And as I said to you earlier, like my hand has not been, and when I went to the doctors and the doctor was like, I'll give it a couple of weeks. It's like, I haven't got a couple of weeks because I need to go to the gym because doing the job that I do, I need a de-stress avenue.
Yes.
And so the gym is my de-stress avenue. And then I've got access to this app where it's certain macros and all of this stuff. And I actually started to put on weight.
Yeah.
Because it was, and I was like, why? Like, I've been following this. And in the end, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to eat.
Right.
I like. All in moderation. At the weekends, if I want that piece of cake, I will have that piece of cake.
Good.
I tend to do sort of like Monday to Thursday. I stick to a relatively clean diet, and then weekend
let loose.
Not let loose, but I will treat myself a little bit more in terms of if I want the chips with my steak, I will have the chips with my steak, and a little bit more varied so that I don't feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah. I would say be careful with that.
Okay.
Because that's kind of like almost like your weekend warrior. And if you are looking to, drop some body fat, I guess, then having, almost regimented Monday to Thursday, and then just having a bit more of a relaxed approach the rest of the week can easily reverse.
Undo, yeah.
So I think it's having that all or nothing mentality of Monday to Thursday, I'm this, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm this, and I think a lot of women as well have that, I'll do up to this point and then the rest of the point I'll let loose. Or a classic one is I'll start Monday or, you know what, I'm just going to have, if I'm going to have that chocolate cake, I might as well eat badly the rest of the day. Yeah. And it really doesn't need to be like that. Because that's where it goes.
I've messed it up now, so I might as well carry on. Yeah.
It's Wednesday, hump day. I can't be bothered. I'm just going to have the whole day of. And it's like it really doesn't have to be like that. It's almost like the way I coach women now is very almost habit based, and that's what gets results. It's the things that you're consistent in, the small things that you're consistent in daily, that gets results. And when you work with women in their mid-30s plus, it's not necessarily about the physical training anymore. You have to take into account their lifestyle, their stress, their sleep, all of those things. Because if any of those things are out of whack, and then you go and hit the gym and you do your workouts, the workouts can actually be pointless. So I always say, think about your habits first. And if you're feeling good, think of the workout like a performance. You would never, you almost have to think like an athlete. An athlete would never go and perform if they haven't had enough sleep, not hydrated enough, not eating in a certain way. So it's kind of thinking, you got to think smart now, I guess. Yeah.
Just a quick break from today's episode. Have you ever felt like the kind of support you need just doesn't exist? Maybe you need help outside of normal hours. Maybe you don't even know where to start. That's why Omnia Neurodiscovery exists. We offer specialised, flexible mental health support, including intensive evening and weekend packages for people who need something different. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, don't wait. Tap the link in the show notes or visit omniahealthgroup.com to find out how we can help. So you look at everything as a whole, which I dare say that when you're in that extreme phase that you mentioned earlier, that wasn't...
I could not care about the amount of sleep that I'd had. It was all about extreme. I have to train 5-6 days a week. I have to do lists in a steady state with no food inside me. I had to take these supplements. I had to weigh everything. It was so regimented, and it was unhealthy, especially from a mental health point of view.
From a mental health perspective, so you've said there that you sort of did your last show and you've had that realisation that you lost the feeling.
Yeah.
And it was more about the look, which was far away from where you'd started, because you'd always started with having that feeling from the dancing, etc. How long do you think it took you to recover from a mental health perspective?
I haven't fully recovered, if I'm really honest. It's still like, and especially, I feel like being a fitness professional, sometimes I'm put on a pedestal and I'm viewed a certain way. And that plays a lot with my own mental health, because I'm trying to be as real as I can to serve my audience and the people that need help. I guess if I went back to that extreme phase, that's me not just being real. It's me being what they want to see, and that's not how it... Back then, yes, but now, especially with the personal stuff that's gone on in my life, it doesn't sit well with me. But it's still hard, because it's like, oh, okay, well, when I did all that, I got the attention, I got the validation from followers, that kind of thing. But now it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna have to be pretty vulnerable now. And I think that's the key word, just being vulnerable. And as a fitness professional, that can be quite challenging, because certain generations don't want to see vulnerability.
It's funny, actually, because I've seen this coming up quite a bit in the work that I do. And I think society teaches us that we shouldn't be vulnerable.
Yeah.
When actually, I believe our brain was built to feel certain emotions. So why are we cutting one of them off? One of those emotions our brain is geared is fear. And through fear, you show vulnerability. But we're taught to cut that off and not show it.
Yeah. And I just don't think social media, when it comes to social media, I don't think it helps.
No.
Because they play on, primarily the younger generation. And I guess when you get to like women in their midlife, they put enormous amounts of pressure to almost want to be like their younger self. And I think that's where a lot of the issue is. It's like they're trying to be that. And it's like, you have to accept that you are at this phase in your life now. And there is almost still like a rebirth coming. You can still grow, but you've got to do it differently. That's all. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s now, and it's like, I still should be able to do that. I can do that, right?
Yeah.
And then my body's like,
no,
you're not doing that. You're not that. Yeah.
So you mentioned there about sort of women clinging on to their youth, sort of not appreciating the stage of their lives that they're in at that moment, right? In terms of, it seems like everyone wants to stay looking like they're 25 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got all the aesthetics that help all of these things, etc., etc. And now we've got the new phase of the injections that have come out, like slimming injections and stuff. And I know that there's a big hype around, are they good for you? Are they not good for you? Should people be using them? But I just thought I'd ask you your perspective on all of that.
Okay. So I do have clients that use them. I don't have anything personal against them. I have my own personal opinion of them. But I'm not one to judge. I can understand why women want to use it. And certainly if I had a new client coming to me and saying, I'm on this, I'm not one to say, I'm not working with you, that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm not one to preach. You know, everyone does it for their own reasons, and that's okay. And it is okay. I guess I'm kind of more concerned about the effects it has on the body long term. And I guess with anything, you know, is it sustainable? Do you know exactly what's going into your body? And I guess the biggest one out there is what it does to, you know, you lose muscle when you, because the weight loss is so extreme that unless you are doing a form of strength training and eating enough protein, you will lose muscle. And I've seen clients do it where they lose a hell of a lot of weight and they look fantastic for it. But they've got the loose skin that comes with it, right? And from what I've heard and know of it, it's almost like an appetite suppressant because you don't want to eat. And I question how good that is for you long term, because there will be deficiencies there. It's no different to when I competed and I will be honest, I was on 1,300 calories a day, but I was stepping on stage, right? I had a reason for it. I guess everyone has their own individual reasons as to why. But then my body fat was so low that my period stopped. And that really messed with my head. So I guess I would be more concerned about what it does for a strength point of view, but also what it does from a mental health point of view as well. It's like, oh, wow, these injections have got me this. Is this what I need to stay on now to continue this? So it's kind of more, they need to almost have some kind of plan in place, you know.
Because as much as obviously it's used as diabetic medication and it's now been shown to help with weight loss, I wonder, like, do they really know the long-term effect of using it for a long period of time for the weight loss and the impact on the body and the psychological effects as well? Because, I mean, I mentioned earlier, I get hangry.
We don't we all?
I'm quite famous for it, I'm not going to lie. But the fact of the matter is, you are pretty much starving when you're taking this medication.
I've worked with a few clients where they've felt nauseous. I mean, the common symptoms on this injection is nausea, stomach cramps, and it's like no different. Again, I keep going back to the physique competition, but it's like all for a look. Because that's why they're doing it, all for a look. I mean, I guess when it comes to like health reasons, if you're like morbidly obese or diabetic and it's the only way off a surgery, yes, you know, but if you're doing it on I just want to lose a stone or two because I'm going on holiday or, you know, it's kind of like, I think there are more natural, safer ways. Again, personal opinion of doing it. But, all I can say is just do your research. Do your research and be comfortable with what you're putting into your body, but also be comfortable with the effects that it could have on you long term as well.
Just a quick break from today's episode. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: mental health at work. If you run a business, you've probably seen it. Stress, burnout, employees who aren't performing at their best because they're struggling. The problem? Most companies don't know how to address mental health in a way that actually helps their team. That's where Omnia Corporate Training comes in. We provide CPD certified mental health training that's practical, flexible, and designed to fit into any workplace. If you want to invest in your team's well-being, and let's be real, happy employees perform better, tap the link in the show notes or visit omniahealthgroup.com to learn more. I hope you don't mind me veering in this direction. You mentioned earlier about your parents and about their lifestyle choices and how that how that had an impact on their life, etc., etc. And that's been a real motivator for you to redefine how you live and how the balance that you put into your life. Would you mind telling us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So my dad, love him. He went far too soon, and he had a stroke in his sleep. My mum found him on the floor in my bedroom. But his lifestyle wasn't the best. He liked to drink. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he was a binge drinker. So like you go out on a Saturday night and you probably have so much. That was my dad. But with that, he smoked. He didn't make the best food choices. And alongside that, he was on a cocktail of medication of things that I know could have been prevented had his lifestyle have been slightly different. And so it just frustrates me that he went in that direction, and it's not like he didn't care, but with that generation, it's like trying to say to them, don't do that, but they'll just do it anyway. So that was my dad. And then my mum, I guess during lockdown, she got stuck here from the Philippines. So after my dad passed, she was visiting us backwards and forwards from the Philippines. Again, her lifestyle very similar to my dad. She's a little bit overweight. And, typically she would have things like Coke for breakfast, McDonald's, Greg's, all sorts. Hardly any activity going on, not really stimulating herself physically and mentally. And then when COVID happened and we weren't allowed to go out and she wasn't allowed to fly back home, that's when we got the diagnosis that she got dementia. And scarily, like the dementia nurses at the time actually said the rise in dementia during COVID just went up. It went through the roof because there were loads of people just not doing anything, just stuck at home. Where there are some that were using it as an opportunity to do something. I actually have some clients saying that they were the best shape of their lives because it forced them to do something. But with my mum's old school mindset, it was like, no, I'm not doing anything. And so when you don't physically move and you don't stimulate your brain, and it frustrates me because I believe that could have been prevented. And so she's back in the Philippines now, and she's been well cared for because she's worked hard in this country for years, and she lives like a queen in the Philippines. And I couldn't ask more for where my mum is right now. But even quite recently, she was hospitalised because she got DVT in her legs because of lack of movement. What does that tell you? So it's like, there's a saying, movement is medicine. It's not necessarily beasting yourself in the gym. You can go out on a walk. That's movement. You can, do a wall sit for a minute. That's movement. I think a lot of people overcomplicate things when it comes to movement. I will bring Lee into this because he's a mate. I love him to bits, and we went to college together. And he mentioned about how the building's on top of Anytime Fitness. I'm like, so what's your reason then?
Yeah.
He went, I guess I don't have one. I'm like, no, you don't. But you just going up the stairs, that's enough, isn't it? And he kind of went silent, and I was like, okay, I'll just plant that seed with you. And again, it's going back to your daily habits. You're consistent in those things. If you kind of make a thing of, right, I'm going to take the stairs instead of, you know, the lift. I'm going to park further away instead of just round the corner. Making those conscious effort to do things a little bit more. Watch what happens. You know, you feel different. All of a sudden, your clothes are looser. When I'm working with women, that's how I get them to think now. And then when you put planned exercise on top of that, that's when you really go through. That's
when the magic happens.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's those influences, and I guess sadly, all my family in the Philippines have some kind of ailment going on, which, again, I believe could be prevented had their lifestyle been different. And I think I'm blessed because it's no coincidence that I guess I thank God that I'm fit and healthy. My lifestyle tells me otherwise. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I like it, like I said, a glass of wine, but it comes that, you know, back to that balance.
Yeah. Veronica, thank you for sharing your journey and insights with us. It's been so inspiring to hear how you've built a business that empowers women to improve their fitness while also prioritising mental well-being. Before we go, is there one final piece of encouragement you'd like to share with our listeners, particularly those struggling to find balance in their own lives?
Just keep it small. Don't set yourselves too high expectations, because we all want to drop a dress size by the summer. We all want to lose a stone, whatever it is. If you can just keep your goals small, realistic, achievable, but be as consistent as you can. But I will say, consistency isn't perfection. It's not, I've got to do it every day. Balance is when you allow for the days where you just can't be bothered, and that's okay. But if you can't be bothered every single day, that's a different story. But, you know, when I look at a 7-day week, and I don't know, say like your goal was 5,000 steps. If you've hit that 4 days out of 7, that's pretty consistent to me. So, yeah, progress, not perfection.
Nice. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Silent Epidemic. If Veronica's story has inspired you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Stay with us for more thought-provoking conversations on mental health and well-being next time.
I began to realise that, you know, me or women that just punish themselves in the gym don't actually get the results that they want. I guess going back to when I was bodybuilding, you know, very low in carbs, my body fat percentage got so low that my period stopped for 6 months. I mean, I'm grateful that I had kids by that point, but sadly I'm connected with a lot of female bodybuilders that still do that, and they can't have kids. And I remember I was really thirsty, so I contacted my coach. I said, I'm really thirsty. And he went, no, you can't drink. You can't drink. If you want a drink, put water in your mouth, give it a swirl and spit it out. That's how dehydrated it was. All for a look, just for a look. Then it kind of made me realise, actually, there's just more to it than just the physical stuff. And so I really wanted to deep dive in the mental health side of things. and how I can work with women in that aspect.